Welcome in, everybody, to a special edition. We are live here at Service Talk Digital Media, where they soar above the competition. You know that we do these every week. I've been very excited about doing these special editions or extra shows here with our good friends over at Service Talk Digital Media. Glad and happy to be connected with the guys, Lee and Justin, over here at Service Talk. You need digital marketing, they can do it. I'm in this space. I'm telling you, nobody is better at getting you digital leads than our good friends over at Service Hawk. So there are a couple of things that I really want to dive into today in reference to football. Maybe we'll, at the end, talk a little bit about basketball with Matt McMahon and the Tigers beating Arkansas. But I want to get into a little bit of baseball here at the end. But I think we need to start off with football and talk and dive a little bit deeper into the portal. There was a couple of you, not a vast majority, so a very vocal minority of you the last couple of days saying that you think that I've been very critical about my overall thoughts and overview of LSU football and what I see them doing in 2025, and I want to clarify that. Before we get to that, I do need to mention every special edition episode here at Service Talk is also brought to you by our good friends over at C&D Plumbing. C&D Plumbing, they're serving the river region with fast, reliable, and residential commercial service. C&D has earned their reputation for quality and honesty. If you need a plumber that you can count on, you need to call our friends over at C&D Plumbing, 985-304-8556. That's 985-304-8556, where your problem is their top priority. So a very vocal minority of you over the last couple of days have mentioned to me that you think that I've been a little too harsh or a little too critical when it comes to LSU and the way that I see them into 2025. I think that there is something interesting about that. Now, what have I said? I have said the following things that you can go and find yourself. Number one, I think that the floor for LSU football, with everything that you've done in the portal, is much higher now than what it was a year ago. I think that you have brought in better guys along the defensive line. I think that you've brought better guys in at DB. I think that safety is still an issue, and we'll see what happens at linebacker. But I do think from what you've done in the interior and exterior of your defensive line, it's going to be better. I think corner is going to be better. Let's see what a young guy and DJ Pickett can do. I fully expect him to be in that starting rotation for Corey Raymond going into spring football. Offensively, I've been very high on this team that if you don't turn the ball over, if you can run the ball at a better for a better clip, if you can get those explosive plays with explosive wide receivers, I think 1,000% the sky is the limit for you. So what are you talking about from me in a negative aspect? I understand what you're saying, but I still think that there are core things. Why are you missing the playoffs? Why are you unable to get to 10 wins in the regular season? Guys, there's a part of being negative, and there's a part of what is reality. What the reality is for LSU football and over the last 3 years is a couple of things. Number one, outside of Jaden Daniels, you have not been able to run the football, not at an effective clip and not at a championship level. You can go through any of these playoff teams. You can go through any of these extended playoff teams and the new form playoff, 12-team playoff. What do they all have in common? Guys, they have really good running backs. They can run the football when they need to. That's the teams that are losing are having the struggles of actually running the football. I don't think that that's me being negative. I think that that's a reality. A big issue that you had this year was that not only could you not run the football in some instances, that you didn't even want to try to run the football in some instances. You got pass happy and you did some things that probably that you weren't supposed to do. You put too much on a first-year starter's shoulders. That's what a lot of you brought up to me. But there have been other things that have held you back from getting where you want to go. And that's not being negative. It's the reality of the situation. What I think that this fan base does and can do and has done in the past, when somebody says something negative about LSU, oh, you hate them, you want to be negative. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic to the facts of what has happened. You have given up too many rushing yards defensively in every loss in the SEC that you have. Name a game that LSU's lost. Name a game under Brian Kelly that LSU has lost in the SEC. And all of them defensively have one massive thing in common. We can go to Ole Miss 2 years ago where they ran for over 300 yards. Alabama last year where they ran for 311 yards. Texas A&M. South Carolina, you didn't lose, but you got close to. And what do all of them have in common? Tennessee a couple of years ago. All of them have in common is that you cannot stop the run and you're not running the football. That's not negative. That's reality. So when I come in here and I say to myself, or I say to you, the viewer, of what things have to be fixed, that's a non-negotiable. That's the reality. I don't know how you going into the portal and getting 4 defensive linemen, what do they all look like? How do they look like when they play here? I have high hopes for Jack Pyburn, and last night we talked about Pyburn and Patrick Payton, and in that duo, I think that it can be one of the best edge duos, not only in the SEC, but one of the better edge duos in the country. I have that amount of faith, but I don't know that to be fact because I have not seen them on the field together and in an LSU uniform. At corner, at safety, do you have any true, real idea of how they're going to try to throw it out there and what they're going to do? What does Jakeem Jackson look like? What does DJ Pickett as a freshman look like? Do you move Ashton Stamps to safety? Does Mansour Delane move to safety? Do you want to put him on the boundary? Does Tamarcus Cooley, is he going to be playing in that slot/star role? And then what do you do with Harold Perkins then? There are a lot of things that where I think that you have a higher ceiling of talent than what you had a year ago. There are questions that we just simply do not have the answers to. You don't have them. I don't have them. I don't even think the LSU coaching staff has them. So there is a reality of 2 massive things that LSU football has got to do to be better in 2025. It is simple the way that I see it humbly. You got to be able to run the football at a better rate, and you got to be able to stop the run. 2 things that outside of Jaden Daniels and outside the year of 2022, even in that year, you've had massive struggles with. You can even look at 22 when you lost games outside of Florida State. You lost to Tennessee, they ran all over you. You lost to Texas A&M, they ran all over you. Those things all are equal on why you've lost games and big games when they've mattered. That is the common construct of what LSU has struggled with in their entirety. I think that you could potentially be much better. But when we look at the transfer portal, we have to be careful of saying, oh, well, we got this guy, that guy, this guy, that guy. So we just know for a fact that you're just going to be ultimately tons better. And I think that there is a possibility where you can. I also think that there's a possibility where, look, man, you have to at some point prove it and show it. Now, to wrap this one up in a little bit of a bow, I think LSU offensively in 2025 could do some things that we have not seen in the last couple of years outside of let me back up. In 23, you definitely did it. But I think offensively, you can be something that you weren't even close to being a season ago with explosiveness. I look at Brown, Anderson ×2, which Aaron and Nick, and Chris Hilton. The explosiveness factor and what you did in the portal, okay, 100% fits the style of Garrett Nussmeier. You want to push the ball down the field? Well, you went and got guys with speed that can run vertically and run away from people. It's not uncommon to see that teams go out there and structure things that benefit their quarterback. But if Garrett does not have, and you don't push into and get a better offensive running game, even though you brought in Josh Thompson, which I think, look, if Josh Thompson, the guard from Northwestern, can come in here and be a solid guard, and Braylon Moore's solid at center, there's a possibility you can run the football at a better clip. But those are all things that are unknown. And you're replacing a lot along your offensive line. You're replacing 2 top 60 picks at minimum and I'm saying Emory Jones is a top 60 pick. Hell, he might be a top 50 pick in the NFL draft. And you know that Will Campbell's going to go in the top 15 for sure. There are question marks that we got to see coming into spring, and we'll start getting some of those answers in March. So I know that there's been a vocal minority of people that have said that you think that I'm being negative or a little too negative. It's not negative when reality can back it up. At some point, I feel like that we have to see those things being changed. I have a lot of confidence in this team. I have a lot of confidence in this entire coaching staff. I have a lot of confidence in so many areas and players that you've brought in. I also feel as if that there are so many other things that you can be better at. I think that there are so many other things that you've got to be better at to make, be, and get to a playoff or a playoff contender or a national title contender. If you can't run the ball and stop the run, you're not going to be there. Another thing about the portal, we talked about this last night, and I want to continue to stay in on that topic and thought. I still think that you have holes that you can fill. I still think that you need another safety. I think defensive tackle is very interesting, and I don't know if Bo Davis feels that he needs another defensive tackle. I would feel as if that you could always use another interior defensive lineman. But I think interior defensive line, I think you got to look at the new additions with like Zion and Brandon Brown and all those guys. And I feel like both feels for sure that he's hit on a lot of these guys. But now you have depth. I don't know if you don't go after a little bit more experience or somebody that goes in there that you're like, hey, man, this kid could come in here and play and give us a lot of really good snaps. I could see you going and getting somebody with some experience. But I do question your overall thought process as a staff. If you do go get another defensive tackle, let's say it's in the spring window, you've brought in 5 different defensive linemen. That's a lot. That is a hell of a lot. And you're asking majority of them, if not all of them, to be starters for you in a lot of situations. I don't know how they're going to even line that up, but I do know that it's very interesting to see how they're going to line that up. Safety is a position. I need to see Deshaun Spears take a step. I need to see what Tamarcus Cooley looks like in the slot. And when we talk about safety, I don't even think that people realize what Tamarcus Cooley is. I think he is and has been a slot guy from the other 2 safety positions in your lineup. I don't know if you're ready there. I think Jordan Gilbert, may be out because of some injury issues during spring. So you're going to get a really big look at that position group, and you're going to have a pretty good understanding of where you sit. I think the ultimate question is, if you're having massive struggles there, can you go to Mansour Delane and ask him to play safety? Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he wants to be at the boundary corner, which is his best position, and I wouldn't blame him of wanting to be there. But I think that DT and safety is definitely going to be something that you continuously look at, and that you'll always hear the chatter around come spring. I talked about this too last night. Running back. I don't think that you can have enough. I don't agree with anybody that says that you shouldn't be looking at running back. I don't agree that there weren't running backs in the portal this go around that you couldn't have gone and got. I look at the Tulane transfer that went to Oregon. I look at all these running backs that went the portal. I know that you're bringing in a lot of talent with Harlan Barry and you have Caden Durham and Caleb Jackson. I think that room, for what it's worth, underperformed in what the expectation of the performance of what you need from that room. Now, I say that they underperformed, but your lead back was a true freshman. I felt like in moments and times that you tiptoed up to the line of scrimmage a little too much and it bit you in the ass. And when you got to the outside, you were able to hit some big plays. But outside of that, I think that you got to continue that development. What does Harlan Barry look like? Can he run in between the tackles? Can he run the football? What does he look like? I don't know. But what I do know is I feel as if that Brian Kelly wants to run the football a lot more. Listening and hearing some things from the Donovan Green camp, I think Brian Kelly told him that, look, we want to go more 12 personnel. We want to run the football more. And I do not believe that Brian Kelly takes a step back, whether he has a game sheet or a call sheet on the sidelines or not. I just don't believe that Brian Kelly takes a step back from being involved in play calling. I don't. And I don't think that he should. Guys, there is something that we have seen from national championship contenders the last 5 years. All of them can line up and run the ball. All of them can line up and run the football. I think that you need a back that you could just hand the ball off to and go get 4 yards and play tough physical football. You have been in moments and times too finesse. Way too finesse. There are times in situations where tough teams that can line up and run the football are going to be in those Final Four situations. What did Penn State do the best? They ran the football. What did, in moments, even though they struggled with some offensive line injuries, what did Ohio State do in crucial moments? What did Notre Dame do in crucial moments? Guys, the game, as much as we think the game has changed, the game has stayed the same. If you cannot line up and pound that rock, you're not going anywhere. So I think that will be ultimately interesting as well. All right, I want to wrap it up with this. We've been in here for a good little minute, but I want to wrap it up with this. I've had a lot of questions in reference to this upcoming season with LSU baseball. And I look at this baseball team to transition here before we get out of here. I see this baseball team as a team that has high expectations. I am very excited. So we're a month away from college baseball opening day. And I remember going into the season last year, and LSU struggles in the beginning of the season kind of manifested themselves when they got the SEC play. I think that there are high expectations. I think that this is going to be a very fun season. I think it's going to be interesting to see how their pitching staff works out. And anytime that a coach like Jay Johnson, who is as great as Jay Johnson, goes after a pitching coach and has been on his staff more than once, I'm interested to see how Nate Yeskie has built that room. I'm really interested to see how these guys develop. I don't think it was fair with Nate Yeskie from a year ago. I don't think it was fair for him to judge him on one single year. I do think that he built that A&M bullpen. I do think that he built it to sustain and look how good they've been. I'm just really interesting. I think that you're going to hit a ton. I think that you got to get better with runners in scoring position at a massive level. I think that you look at your entire infield. It's going to be like you got dudes that can hit there. I'm really excited, man. I think that you could look at this team and say that they could go on a run. So we'll see. I feel like as if, and I know I'm kind of beating around the bush here. I'll just tell you, I feel as if that this LSU baseball team, it is Omaha or bust. That's how I feel. That can turn itself on its head, right? Like that could completely be wrong, and they're battling during the SEC. I don't know. But, man, they're going to be loaded and stacked. So we'll see. All right. Y'all have a good day. Shout out to our good friends over at Silver Salt with Lee, Justin, and the gang. Our good friends over at C&D Plumbing. We'll see you guys again next week for one of these special episodes. And I think this is what we're going to do. I think we're going to be guessing it up, bringing some high-level guests in here over the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be fun. Until then, we'll see y'all soon. Y'all have a good one.